October 22, 1903, 5:47 a.m. Hythe Ranges, Kent. A cold wind crawls in from the channel, carrying the smell of salt and damp earth. Lanterns flicker along the firing line as shadows of British instructors move like ghosts across the gravel. And there, half covered by a khaki cloth, sits the weapon no one understands yet. The rifle that will destroy centuries of British doctrine and replace it with something entirely new. A young ordnance officer, Captain Arthur Hythe, rubs frost from his hands as he checks his notes. The wooden target frames in the distance tremble gently in the wind. And behind him, a line of senior officers waits in an uneasy silence, men raised on volley fire, on slow, rigid marksmanship, on the belief that discipline, not speed, wins wars. But Hythe isn't thinking of tradition. He's thinking of the letter he received only 3 nights earlier, the warning inside it, and the quiet promise that today, if this demonstration succeeds, the entire British Army will be forced to change. He pulls back the cloth. A gleam of freshly oiled blued steel catches the morning light. The officers lean in. Some frown. Some scoff. One mutters under his breath, "A toy for colonials." Because this rifle isn't British at all. It comes from a country the generals barely take seriously. A country still dismissed as a dusty frontier even after it shocked the world at Omdurman, Megersfontein, and Islandsloch. South Africa. More specifically, the men who fought against Britain there, the Boers. Farmers, yet marksmen of terrifying skill. Hythe lifts the rifle, feeling its weight settle perfectly into his hands. It's shorter than a Lee Metford, faster, almost eager. The bolt glides back with a sound like a whispering blade. The Lee Enfield, pattern 1902. A weapon born not from British innovation, but from British humiliation. "You may fire when ready, Captain," one general mutters. Hythe nods. He steps forward. The wind bites at his face. He presses the butt into his shoulder. You can almost feel the cold through his gloves as the first cartridge slips into the chamber. A heartbeat. Then another. Crack. The bullet snaps down range, splitting across the dunes. A brass casing jumps into the air, spinning like a coin in the pale dawn. Before it even lands, crack, 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 crack. The officers jerk in surprise. 4 rounds in barely a second and a half. Hythe does not pause, does not breathe. The bolt dances in his hand, smooth, controlled, mechanical. A rhythm, a storm. Crack, 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 crack. 10 rounds, then a second charger, then 10 more. The air fills with drifting smoke and the metallic scent of hot oil. Target markers in the distance scramble as they realize, with disbelief, that nearly every bullet has struck within a tight cluster. Hythe lowers the rifle. Silence. The kind that feels heavy, uncomfortable, dangerous. Because the old world has just ended, and everyone on that firing line knows it. A rifle that can put 30 aim shots downrange in a minute means the British soldier is no longer a slow-moving figure in tight formations. He is something else now. Faster, deadlier, unpredictable. One general finally speaks, voice thin. If our infantry had possessed that in South Africa, the war would have been very different. Hythe lets the words hang in the cold air. He knows the truth will hit them soon enough. This rifle isn't simply replacing the old one, it is about to replace the way Britain fights wars. But he also knows something they don't know. This demonstration wasn't his idea. It wasn't even the ordnance board's. It came from a man now standing quietly at the edge of the field. A Boer veteran. A former enemy. One of the most feared marksmen of the war. And he hasn't spoken a word yet, because his role in what happens next will shake the British Army to its core.
The enemy who would rebuild Britain.
The officers begin murmuring among themselves, their breath misting in the morning cold. Some scribble hurried notes. Others keep their arms folded, unwilling to admit what they've just witnessed. But Captain Hythe's eyes drift past them, toward the lone figure standing near the boundary rope, cap pulled low, coat buttoned tight against the wind. Commandant Willem Botha, Boer marksman, veteran of Spionkop, Paardeberg, and half a dozen skirmishes the British would rather forget. He stands utterly still, as if he's back on the veldt, waiting for the first glint of a cavalry patrol miles away. The only clue to his restlessness is the faint twitch of his thumb along an old Mauser sling. Hythe steps toward him. "You should say something. This was your idea." Botha shakes his head. "No, Captain. Today the British must impress the British." He speaks English softly, the accent thick, the phrasing cautious, formal, almost ceremonial. And yet there's a weight to him, the weight of a man who has taken more lives than he cares to remember. The generals finally turn. One of them, Lieutenant General Sir Reginald Knox, narrows his eyes. "I assume that is the Boer advisor you insisted on bringing to this spectacle." Hythe nods. "Gentlemen, this is Commandant Boer, enough said." Botha doesn't flinch, but his jaw tightens. Another officer, Colonel Whitfield, steps forward with a smirk. "So tell us, Commandant, how does it feel to teach us the tricks of your bush warfare?" His tone suggests he knows the answer and finds it amusing, but Botha's reply is quiet, nearly gentle. "It feels like teaching a lion to hunt before hyenas learn the same." The officers look at one another. Hythe knows that line will linger in their minds. It lingers in the viewer's mind now. Sharp, uncomfortable, true. Knox scoffs. "We have no need for metaphors. Britain has traditions, doctrine, regulation. The Lee Enfield will be issued, but the nature of our infantry will remain the same." Botha steps closer, eyes steady. "That is why you will lose the first months of the next war." The wind gusts sharply, snapping the flags overhead. Even the seabirds seem to fall silent. For a moment, Knox appears ready to explode. Then he turns to Hythe instead.